also say that's exactly what alcoholism is after you've blown out your prefrontal cortex. I mean, we literally do brain damage. Yeah, one is too many and 1,000 is never enough. And it's true. You know what it is? Not multitasking or as much multi-thinking. You know, with that divergent brain, I'm always going. That's what's fascinating about what ADD really is. Yeah, I'm defocused, but it's also that I'm hyper-focused.
Right. Yeah, you know, there's something about the ADHD brain that loves riddles and puzzles.
Is all your organizational and critical thinking skills are all housed in your prefrontal cortex. So when you do brain damage from drinking or any substance abuse, yeah, you lose that. And then you get executive dysfunction. You know, as Ali says, Ali defines ADD as executive dysfunction and dopamine dysregulation.
In a time like this, I think about ADHD and the impacts it has on relationships, because it can wreak havoc on relationships, intimate relationships, family relationships, and oftentimes gets misunderstood, like you aren't focused or you don't care, or it's not important. You know, sometimes that's farthest from the truth.
Hey, quick intro here. It's March 19th of 26. I'm out in San Diego, actually. Beautiful San Diego, out here going to Dana Point for a conference with my coaching certification class. We're completing our certification on alcohol-free coaching, mindset, success, hypnosis, all stuff getting into the subconscious. So I will be offering my coaching services officially very soon, and also offering them through my recovery sobriety platform. Also include ADHD soon. Hopefully coming. When I get back, I am really going to be fired up to get this thing going. I just wanted to say that this is part 2. Hopefully you saw part 1 with Jake. If you didn't, maybe go back and watch that first. It starts abruptly. So just to recap, we were talking about forms of medication for ADHD, and there's basically 2 kinds. There's stimulants and non-stimulant. Stimulant versions, like Adderall, basically give you a dopamine kick and do not work for alcoholics and the like, which Jake and I are, because it works the same way and you just tend to overly abuse it. Seems everyone is tempted to abuse Adderall, but particularly us. So I tried it, failed miserably, totally abused it. So I did try the non-stimulant version, did nothing for me, but totally worked for Jake. I might even try it again, because what the non-stimulant does is it retains the dopamine and the norepinephrine that's in your system. But the key is you got to find ways of getting it, like cold shower finishes, which I love talking about, 250% kick and dopamine kick and 530% norepinephrine kick. Anyway, so then that medication will keep that in your system longer. So maybe I wasn't getting enough of that stuff naturally when I tried it about a year ago, maybe less, 8 months. Anyway, that's where we left off. And reminder, the lighting is horrible because I was about to get a paint job on the wall, and you'll actually see some paint samples on the wall as well. So I guess that'll do it as always. And this, of course, is just for those watching on YouTube. As always, thank you for watching and or listening. Peace. So that's interesting you said, was it a friend that said the Strattera actually even made it worse? Because I would think, I almost don't believe it, frankly, because I would think it just has no effect. And that's what happened for me. And that I did think that it was supposed to help increase your dopamine levels. And for those who don't know, it's ADD people typically have lower dopamine levels, which is why ordinary tasks bore us even more than other normal people.
Yeah.
And, you know, as Ali says, Ali defines ADD as executive dysfunction and dopamine dysregulation. And I also say that's exactly what alcoholism is after you've blown out your prefrontal cortex. I mean, we literally do brain damage.
Yeah.
And that is executive function, is all your organizational and critical thinking skills are all housed in your prefrontal cortex. So when you do brain damage from drinking or any substance abuse, yeah, you lose that. And then you get executive dysfunction, which is what I realized. And that's why I have no no organizational skills, etc. No impulse control.
Yeah. Oh,
You know,
yeah.
the whole thing. I mean, you'll love this, Jake. I realized, you know, I've been late for everything my whole life. I'm the black sheep of my family. They're
Sure.
insanely,
Sure.
they're early for everything.
Yeah,
And I
you got the
said,
time blindness. Yeah.
yeah, the time blindness, which
Yeah.
is, for those also don't know, it's not a clinical diagnosis, but it is a term for always misestimating even
Mhm.
things we do every single day. And
Yeah.
it's so true. I'm trying to double, if not triple, because now
Mhm.
that I have the awareness, just like we say in sobriety world,
Mhm.
it's not my fault, but it is my responsibility.
There you
So
go. Yeah.
yeah, when I think I can get out the door in 15 minutes,
Yeah.
I'll triple it to 45.
Yeah.
And guess what? It'll take an hour.
Yeah.
So,
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
But what I said is my family, now that I know this, they owe
Yeah.
me an apology for
Yeah.
thinking I was just a jerk my whole life.
You didn't care. Yeah, that it was just a product of the ADHD. I had a friend of mine say it was a nice way of saying it. Instead of time blindness, they said I had time optimism. That I just thought that would just take a couple of minutes, when in reality it took half an hour. Oh, that'll just take 5 minutes. No, actually, that will take about 30. So yeah, I think I like the time optimist version. It's nicer.
Yeah, and you're right. And you know what I say to my mother? I said, you know, we're not just screwing you. People that think
Yeah.
chronically late people, now there may be those that are just rude, they're selfish, all that. That isn't the case with us. Maybe a little, but for the most part, I say to her, I'm not just screwing you, I'm screwing myself.
Of course.
You know,
Yeah, of course.
it's an awful existence having to run red lights for a living because I'm always
Sure. Yeah.
yeah.
Cappy, that makes me think about, maybe you've heard this before. If you're 5 minutes late, they say that as it's aggressive, like you don't care about the other person. Have you heard this?
No.
If you're 5 minutes late, you're aggressive and that you don't care about the other person that you're meeting. If you're on time, I don't know, you win an award or something like that. If you're 5 minutes early, you're passive and you want to please the other person, but are often annoyed when they're late. So it's this interesting dynamic. And those of us with ADHD are always, in my mind, about 5 to 7 minutes late, just by nature. I would say more if you have kids.
Oh my God, dude. We
Yeah.
just uncovered so much stuff to discuss. This is
Yeah.
dangerous. I eventually really want to get back to the Strattera, the non-stimulant thing.
Oh,
but
yeah.
you just unlocked so much stuff. And you're even going to have to help remind me.
Mhm.
But first of all, I work for a woman. Those from my hometown, Marlborough, Mass. A couple friends will know.
Yeah.
Her name is Ronnie. Ronnie, maybe no, not Font, but her name was Ronnie. I worked at Walgreens as a clerk, and she
Mhm.
used to always get on me for cutting it close or being 5 minutes late. And she said,
Yep.
"You should have time to get a flat tire and be able to change it and still be on time for
Wow.
work."
Wow.
Which never. Hello.
No.
Um,
That's
hey,
great.
have you ever heard the great riddle that these kids show up late for class, they miss the exam, and they say it's because they had a flat tire? So the teacher says, "I'm going to give you a makeup exam with one question." And obviously she separates them. The question, which tire?
Which tire was it? That's great.
How
That
great is
is
that?
tire.
That is the greatest.
That's
I love
awesome.
riddles. I can do a whole
Oh, that's
episode.
good. Yeah. Yeah, there's something about the ADHD brain that loves riddles and puzzles. And I mentioned that I work with autism, which really loves those kind of things too. But yeah, there's something about the ADHD brain that, man, if you can solve a puzzle, one that's like challenging and stimulating without being too simple or too challenging, there's a sweet spot.
Interesting, because I used to like doing real puzzles,
Yeah. Like a
as a
jigsaw.
kid.
Yeah.
Now I haven't even tried them because they look so boring to me. I watch my father doing them,
Sure.
and, but maybe I'm wrong, because that is supposed to be, people do it for the stimulation, right?
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. There's some good puzzles out there. Maybe you just got the wrong puzzles. Or I don't know. I mean, you mentioned like staying busy. Just like it maybe goes to this concept around seeking stimulation or avoiding stimulation, which is kind of a big principle within neurodiversity of, are you sensory seeking? Are you or sensory avoiding? Do you want more stimulation or do you want less? And for a lot of us on the ADHD, it's all over the map. It just depends. Like, what kind of day have you had? And does unwinding with a puzzle feel like a nice thing to do? Or does that feel like, yeah, that's going to put me to sleep? It just depends.
Yeah. I don't know why, because it should be challenging. I just quickly Googled that, and I was telling you on a break that, anyone watching might think I'm always multitasking, but it always is related to the podcast.
Mhm.
So Google said mainly ADD people like them for the reasons discussed,
Mhm.
but if
Yep.
it's not challenging enough, but
Yeah.
they are challenging. Obviously, finding the right piece.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because it's a needle in the haystack, and when you start,
Sure.
and I don't
Yeah,
know.
I gotta
You know
solve it.
what? I'm gonna try a puzzle and get back to you. So,
Yeah.
um,
It was during COVID that we got really deep into puzzles because, like, we were on house
yeah.
arrest basically during COVID. And there's some really spectacular puzzles out there. We haven't done any since, but yeah, a good puzzle it is a fun time if you're in the mood for it.
Mm.
Yeah.
This might be a reason, unless I'm doing it for bonding with a partner or a
Sure.
family member.
Oh yeah.
I'm never gonna take time to
Mhm.
do anything like that for the
Yep.
rest of my life, because as mentioned,
Yep. Yeah.
I was gonna even hold it up,
Well,
but
that's
my phone is at out of 256 gigs, which is a ton. I'm at
yeah.
252.
Mhm.
So basically full. Now that's
Yeah.
partially because I stupidly, when I got a new phone, transferred all of my
Oh, all the
old
old. Yeah.
photos.
Sure.
But
Sure. Then you're
still,
full.
do you know I dread going on to my sober capping Instagram account because I love it. The amount of information and new ideas and just thoughts is endless. So I screenshot every post. So I don't go on. I want to go on, especially out of appreciation, the people that read my stuff, but it is work. I mean, it is truly work. But anyway, I want to circle back to the whole rudeness of being late thing, and that we misestimate every single time. But now that I have the awareness, I'm proud to say my parents always joke they're spending our inheritance money. So they like to go on cruises, although I paid for the last one. But the previous one to that, I was late for dinner, 5 to 10 minutes late every single night. And then this cruise we just went on over Christmas, I was on time, if not a minute early, every
Nice.
single night. So I'm
Yeah, that's awesome.
proud to say that. But I need to
Yeah.
check with my buddy Bob Donnelly from Marlboro, Mass. Growing up,
Mhm.
I almost divorced him
Hmm.
because he would be so misestimate. The
Hmm.
last thing I remember was supposed to go to a Boston College football game, and he was like,
Mhm.
"I'll pick you up in 15 minutes."
Yeah.
And an hour later, the
Oh,
kid
wow.
had left his house,
Yeah.
and I thought it was so rude.
Yeah.
And I've never discussed ADD with him, and I
Sure.
need to but he must have it because
Yeah.
crazy.
Oh, that's definitely time blindness. Yeah, what I find working within the field that I do and providing therapy and coaching for people with ADHD or any neurodiversity is like the majority culture, like the way like social norms aren't written for neurotypical folks. It doesn't work. It's kind of like how in school, it's not made for those of us with ADHD, it's made for neurotypical folks. And that's where the medication, I think, comes in for a lot of kids to stimulate them, to get them to be quote unquote normal and sit still for 8 to 10 hours a day in school. And so what I tend to see with some of my clients is helping them recover from the shame of not meeting societal expectations or, like family expectations. That feeling of like, oh, we're mad at you for all the times you've been late. You must, feel you're more important than whatever it might be. All the hurt feelings of being late for years. Yeah, I mean, ultimately there's some recovery there too of like, this is my brain. This is how my brain functions, not leaning on that as an excuse. But I liked what you talked about of a conscious effort to not be late on this cruise and showing up on time, if not a minute early. Like, what is success? I think there's something to that with when we identify goals and we feel like we can meet them, man, like that's some of the superpower of ADHD because we can hyperfixate on one thing at a time and do that really exceptionally well until we get bored and move on to something else that we want to maybe do that with too. you've been asking me questions, but I'm really curious about your experience with Ali's program.
Oh yeah.
And if we could talk about that, because that has been, for me, it's been a game changer. It's been just the right thing that I needed. And it's been such a support for me.
Yeah, I absolutely want to get to it. I have to circle back on a couple things. Pretty amazing that one thing with ADD is you don't have any working memory. I mean, we have none. That's how, the whole thing, same thing my whole life. How did I think of something I need to grab just yesterday, grab that key and bring it over to my sister when I bring her my Keurig that I gave her because I'm trying to quit coffee. Within a minute, I guess I got so focused on bringing the Keurig,
Yeah.
I forgot the key
Yeah.
and I showed up there without the key. And I was
Mhm.
like, how could I forget? It was a minute before, but we have no working memory. But yet I was telling
Yeah.
you that my superpower kicks in when I do these podcasts and how I am always Googling and looking at my
Mhm.
notes and looking for my
Yeah.
quotes.
Oh,
And
yeah.
yet I'm still able to listen
Mhm.
and process. And even
Mhm.
now, I think I'm going to remember everything I want to circle back on. I had been writing those things down, but I don't even think I need to. But
I wrote a
another
couple
thing,
down. I started
oh
writing
yeah,
things down.
I'll be big on that. But
Yep.
I really hope I don't forget because that'll drive me
Mm.
crazy. But
Yeah.
it's about kids. Well, they're
So
both related to kids. But
Mhm.
I want to say to you, I assume you'll relate to this. I could never multitask in terms of if I'm on the phone with someone. I can
Mhm.
never be in front of my computer
Mhm.
if I'm trying to listen to someone. Like sobriety
Yeah.
calls.
Yeah.
Bless those people that are on camera. You don't have to be, but they love it when you are. I
Yeah.
can't because if I'm in front of my computer, I will multitask and I won't literally hear a thing. And the best example, I was married, believe it or not, ladies, long ago to my first long-term girlfriend, but I was married for just 2 years. Typical first marriage. We had no chemistry. We were talking about having kids and we weren't going to make it. So I just said, hey, this isn't going to work. But she would call me at work and we'd be talking normally. And then all of a sudden she'd hang up she'd hang up the phone. And it was that she would always know when I drifted in front of my computer and that's it. All bets were off. And then I
She
have
could
this,
sense. Yeah.
yep, I have a
Mhm.
mentor named Anthony. And same thing. He's like, Jesus Capello, you're the worst I've ever seen.
Mhm.
That I
Yeah.
know instantly when you're looking at anything else.
Mhm.
But that is not just, that's what's fascinating about what ADD really is.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm defocused, but it's
Mhm.
also that I'm hyper focused.
Right. Yeah.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Choosing what to focus on. This is a hard thing because for neurotypical folks, I feel like they don't need to choose what to focus on. They don't have that same chaos in the brain that says everything's important, everything has meaning, that it's everything's important and I'm going to focus on all of it at the same time. It is interesting, like in a time like this, I think about ADHD and the impacts it has on relationships because it can wreak havoc on relationships, intimate relationships, family relationships, and oftentimes gets misunderstood. Like you aren't focused or you don't care. It's not important. Sometimes that's farthest from the truth. It's the brain and the nervous system and the ability to sustain that focus and attention and look like you're engaged and interested in what's going on. I definitely see that with some of my clients on the autism spectrum too, of not making eye contact or, fixating on certain things. ADHD has a huge impact on relationships. I'm curious about your perspective on that.
Wow. All right. And you know what? This is really great. So one of my 3 ADD accountability partners, and it's so funny. I had many for sobriety. I don't really need them as much now, but now they're just good lifelong friends. But now it's more I communicate with my particularly 2. The third guy, this is actually really funny. I thought of telling you this anyway. His name is also Brian. He joined a free ADD community
Mhm.
and he's like obsessed with it. He's like the top point getter. It's on the school platform. Well, just like
Oh, yeah.
Ali's is. And you
Yeah.
get like you're level 1, you can't even message
Oh, yeah.
people. And then if
Totally.
you participate, it's a
Mhm.
brilliant strategy. So he
Yeah.
is like in the top 5. But even when he told me I should join, I said, dude, they don't do meetings. It's all on posts. And then they do co-working sessions, which is a great topic. But well, I'll tell people it's awesome. Everyone just sits and does work on a Zoom, but nobody talks. You announce what you're going to do at the beginning, and then I think you rehash at the end. But anyway, I said, Brian, isn't that a distraction that you're going to be? I never go on even Ali's. It's fascinating, but I never go. Same with the sobriety community. I do meetings,
Yeah.
but I will not go on the forum. Well,
Mhm.
very sparingly, because I'll get sucked up in it. It's
Sure.
worse than Twitter. So
Right. Yeah.
anyway, I don't even talk to Brian now because I don't have time, but I know he also doesn't have time. He's so busy. He loves it. So anyway, one of them is named Carla, but her pen name is Ivy Castillo, because she has a few ADHD books, and they're about ADHD and relationships. And when I first saw that, I said, how does ADD impact that? And she kind of went into it. I go, because it's never affected mine. Yeah, I've been hopelessly single ever since my divorce, but that's largely due to the drinking and not having done the work. And now I've come to realize, oh my God, wait a minute.
Maybe
They were going,
ADHD had something to do with it.
absolutely.
Sure.
In fact, it's a great segue to one of the things I want to circle back on. You mentioned it's harder if you have kids. And I was going to say, I just thought of this when I was getting ready to go to the airport at 6 a.m. for my Christmas vacation. I said, I am so lucky I don't have a family or even a partner. I need to be alone trying to get myself out of the house. So how parents in general, I give so much kudos. And luckily I realized, thank God we weren't compatible with my wife, because I truly believe I wasn't meant to have kids. I have a niece and nephew who are like kids to me. I got to exercise my parental proclivities, and that was enough. Nice place to visit, but I wouldn't want to live there. And I
Sure.
can't imagine. In fact, the best tweet I ever saw, and I don't go on Twitter, but I saw this, was a woman said, I love my child so much that I'm never going to bring them into this world.
I wouldn't do it to them. That's great.
It might even said, I love my unborn child that
Sure,
I'm never going to bring. But yeah,
Sure.
I mean, it's crazy.
That's great.
So navigating life with other people in the house, I mean, that's why, I mean, I love it, at least. But I have lived since my divorce with a couple women for about a year or so, and that went fine. I can do it. But kids, forget about it. Oh my God. And the related quote I wanted to give, you talked about almost, you didn't use the word, but almost like proud of me. And I was proud of myself, as was my mother, my parents, proud of me for showing up to dinner on time every night. And what I've been saying since that cruise is, I resented being treated like a 12-year-old my whole life. Oh, because you talked about a friend that resented that. I said, but now I realize, guess what? I deserve to be treated like that. And now I'm okay with it. We
Sure.
needed to be treated like children. It's
Yeah.
until we can overcome it.
Well, and I think that's an interesting thing. Like, my wife and I have two young kids. We have a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old. And our 5-year-old has signs and symptoms of ADHD and has for years. And so I'll tell you, getting out the door, 45 minutes, even if we're going down the street, even if we're taking a walk, 45 minutes to get out the door, because there's 4 of us. And I have ADHD. My daughter has ADHD. So usually it tends to be more chaos with, if you think about a parent and a child both having ADHD. Yeah, it's definitely, it tends to lead to a lot of apologies, is what I say. It leads to a lot of fights, and it leads to a lot of chaos, and then it leads to a lot of apologies, which is great. We're working really well on repair. But yeah, my daughter this morning is, we're rushing to get out the door because our neighbor takes her to school and we're late, and that means nothing to her. So she's playing with a toy instead of getting her jacket on, and it's that kind of stuff, that we can I try my best to accommodate and look ahead. It's going to take us 45 minutes. It takes us 50 minutes. It takes us 55 minutes. Inevitably, it takes us always more than what is allotted. I love my kids. I try to do right by them, but man, it's hard. ADHD makes parenting really difficult. And, ADHD makes being a kid, pretty difficult too. So I think on both sides. And there's a point I wanted to make too about school, which I can't. I love the platform. I love the community aspect, if they had meetings, I would show up, and the school posting feels very much like social media to me. And I don't really like social media. It's so distracting. So I am on Facebook for my business. My assistant got me on Instagram for business, but I try to stay off as much as I can because it's always dopamine seeking behavior. And when I do get on and I'm in a rabbit hole on Facebook for an hour and I'm like, well, what did I do? Maybe I took a lot of screenshots, maybe I saw a lot of interesting stuff, but then I tend to come back and I'm a little dizzy from having been in social media land. Do you find that to be true?
I fortunately have overcome any social media addiction I once had,
Yeah.
which is a
Good for you.
great. I mean, dude, I say this of every guest, and then I say the most recent one, I say, but you more than ever, I could really talk to forever. And I will
Yeah.
say, I say that to every guest, but I mean it.
Sure.
And although the one Erin, who's getting published today, she is a divorce lawyer and coach. Divorce coach. Like,
Wow.
I
Yeah.
could talk to her all day. It was great.
Oh, yeah.
We talk, and she's 30 years in AA. So, oh my God,
Cool.
it was
Yeah.
awesome. It's so good, which is why I talk about my options. I could do a daily podcast. And one reason I want to is I still haven't found a daily go-to podcast that I really want to listen to, or not even daily, weekly, but that I absolutely have to listen to. I mean, there's a lot that I really like, but I'm almost envious of you people that get to listen to me, although I do listen back to mine. In fact, the Erin one, because of my ADD, was filmed 7 months ago. So it was listening back like it was the first time, and I thoroughly enjoyed
Yeah.
it. It was so great.
You got great content. It's a great conversation. It's enjoyable. I listened to yours with Ali and had a great time. It felt like being in the room with you guys.
That's fantastic, because that's so funny. It was one of my shower thoughts today that I didn't need to write down, was that I meant to make it a prerequisite just so we could discuss it. But
Sure.
I don't even know if we're going to get to it, actually.
Yeah.
But I really want to, but there's still so much here. I'm going to make another Marlboro, Mass hometown reference. Chris Cintron, if you're out there, and the whole Cintron family. And this relates because you mentioned your kids have it, and I know what they say, it's hereditary,
Yeah.
largely,
Oh, yeah.
just like alcoholism, but doesn't have to
Big
be.
time. Yeah.
My side is perfectly segued. Everyone with the Irish blood is either in the program or should be, and everyone on the Italian side is totally normal drinkers, if at all.
Yep.
And there's no one in my family I know of, actually, that has at least my immediate family, with the ADHD. But anyway,
Sure.
the whole Cintron family was always super known for being super late, including Chris, who was my age, and his sister Sandra. Hello. They would come pick us up for school every day. Me and sometimes my sister. I was young for my age, so he got his license first. He would show up so late every single day and have to drive like a maniac, and it was so frustrating having to wait for him. And you might say, well, why wasn't I late too? But I didn't. That's why I almost wondered if I even had it as a kid, which you don't necessarily do. So there aren't many. In fact, my mother said, why did I never notice as a kid? And that's why I kind of blamed, but I still think I did get it, developed it naturally, or maybe always had it. But alcohol absolutely exacerbated on the relationship thing. So it was funny that I said, it never caused a problem for me, ADHD in relationships. And then I realized, oh my God. So the other one is that you mentioned that your ADHD type is inattentive. So there are two types. There's inattentive and then there's hyperactive. And there's inattentive and hyperactive - impulsive. And there's actually a third, which is combined.
Yeah.
So it's funny. I said to Ali in an email, I said, I don't know which type I am. I'm not that hyper. I'm energetic, but I'm not that hyper. But I said, or at least growing up, I wasn't all that, no, in the past, even till recently, that inattentive. Because they talked about losing your keys, forgetting things. No, even now, I was saying to him, yeah, no, I don't really have that. I think I just have executive dysfunction and dopamine dysregulation, which should be its own category. I said, I don't think I'm inattentive. And then I realized, what am I talking about? I lose stuff. I lose the remote every 10 minutes. And now I'm struggling with not finding things right in front of my face because we're all, you know what it is? Not multitasking, we're as much multi-thinking. With that divergent brain, I'm always going. So I thought that was funny that I didn't realize that.
It's interesting. I was talking to my doctor recently about the medication that I started, Strattera. And for me, it worked remarkably well in that the day, there was a time in my brain where it just was loud. And it's different. The way I explained it, it's different than anxiety, because it's not fear or worry or concern. It's not really anxious thoughts. It's just a lot of thoughts in the brain. Overwhelmed so much. There's so many voices going on. There's so many concepts and ideas. It's a cacophony of information to process. And I started this medication and I actually felt like, wow, that stopped. It really very, very much diminished. And I was like, wow, is this what neurotypical people feel like? Is, slower, not slower thoughts, just less, less of a cacophony. Before it was a chorus that didn't actually know they weren't singing the same tune. They didn't know the same material. And so it was actually really interesting to transition to Strattera. And the way that my neurobiology worked was it worked for me, and it reduced all that cacophony. I'm still able to access, and I think it makes me, similar to what you've talked about, makes me a good therapist and a good coach, because I do see 10 different perspectives on a problem or a situation or an issue. And we tend to explore all of them if we can. And so I think, similar to what you've talked about, ability to multitask but hold maybe 10 different perspectives. Sometimes that works really well, and sometimes it's also works really poorly.
Yeah, amazing segue. You talked about how normal people don't think as much, or I forget how you worded it, just easier. And I had already Googled, there's two types of thinking, which I learned from the great book that a pizza shop customer who I learned was ADD recommended, called Your Brain is Not Broken.
Oh,
which
cool.
is a great title. Mm-hmm. And it's so similar to with alcoholism. We say in recovery, you're not broken. Every alcoholic thinks they're broken. What's wrong with me? Why can't I drink normally? And as I say, it's just, we process alcohol differently. It's so misunderstood. We don't just lack willpower. Anyone who thinks that, alcoholic or not. And, I also say, if you shame yourself, you're part of the problem. The non-drinkers, they don't get it. They think we lack willpower. They shame us. If you shame yourself, you are part of the problem, because you're not, but it's out of ignorance. You're not realizing this is a chronic brain disease. You process alcohol differently. You likely inherited it, but you can drink yourself into the disorder from trauma, etc. So anyway, Your Brain is Not Broken. Phenomenal book. So there's two types of thinking: convergent thinking, which is the normies, just like with alcohol, we call our AA calls the normal drinkers normies. Normal thinkers. Convergent thinking is evaluating and narrowing ideas to find the best solution. They really just are single solution focused. And then divergent, which I had never even really thought about what neurodivergent means, but so divergent thinking is generating many creative ideas. Mm-hmm. And that is a blessing and a curse.
Yeah. Yes, totally. If you look back at history, there's all these people that have been identified as ADHD, and they're inventors and scientists, and, have created amazing art or, amazing culture. That ADHD, when wielded well, is that superpower, but man, is it really hard to find how to wield it, because it trips you up so much. It really does. I was thinking about, have you heard of Gabor Mate and his work on addiction and recovery?
Is that how you say his name? I never knew. So say that again. Say it again.
Gabor Mate.
Okay. Yep.
I think that's how you say it.
I would have said Gabor, but I'm not correcting you. I honestly have no idea. In my head, I think I've always said Gabor.
Yeah. It could be Gabor. It could be Gabor. Yeah, that's interesting. We should look it up. But his work is spectacular, I think, on and if we look at ADHD maybe as a biological trait, because there is a biological component to it. Somebody told me, whether this is true or not, 80% is based on your genetics, whether or not you have ADHD. It's genetic versus environmental. There's that component, 80-20. But when I think about sobriety, I think about addiction and recovery, I really think about his work in unmet needs and unmet desires rooted sometimes in trauma, but sometimes in that kind of seeking more pleasure, more dopamine, less stress or fear or anxiety. For those of us in sobriety, realizing we're powerless over that addiction, like we can't beat it. We we can't drink our way to a better place. We've come to realize it has become I was talking to a client about that powerlessness, like realizing we are powerless to address it. We can't fix it ourselves. There's something to be said about accepting that. I mean, there's a lot to be said about accepting, not that we're broken. It's not for us. It's something that we can't go to anymore. For those of us that have hit rock bottom, we know how hard it feels, and we know that's the point at which everything changes. And whether that's the first time or the second time or how many relapses we go through, to realize drinking is just not an option. We can't just have one. I don't know if you heard this joke. This guy walks into a bar and he asks for a shot, and the bartender gives him a shot and he throws it away, and he asks for another one and he drinks it. And the bartender's like, "What are you doing? Why'd you throw away the first shot?" He said, "Well, I've heard it's the first drink that'll get you. Second drink's fine." Yeah. Well,
Oh my God, that's so good.
is that
That's
good?
so good. And
Yeah.
yeah, in case anyone not in recovery, hasn't heard that, but we say all the time that it's what do they say? One is not enough and a thousand is one is too many and a thousand
Too
is not
many and
enough.
1,000's not enough. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that second
Yeah.
one is it.
Now I need one is too many. Yeah, and one is too many, and 1,000 is never enough, and it's
Yeah.
true. And
Mhm.
I'm glad you brought up control. Right? It's
Mhm.
someone said the only thing I have control over is the first one, is
Yeah.
the decision to take the first drink.
Yeah.
And I have said on one of my many YouTubes and elsewhere that a big turning point for me was when I kept trying to moderate. And I would
Dude.
tell my friend James McIntyre that my moderation plans, and then I would tell them when they would go awry, and he would say,
Yeah.
"Cap, what you don't understand, you keep thinking this is in your control. It's not." And that was a huge turning point because here's another great quote for you. The only people who can moderate are those who don't need to try to moderate.
That's great. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. That's interesting. I had a client work on harm reduction, like that moderation, exactly what you're talking about, running through and realizing that wasn't going to work. It really did need to be sobriety and recovery. But harm reduction wasn't doing it. It was still destabilizing. They were still struggling. Sure, drinking less was helpful to a certain degree, but they were still drinking. It was it was less of a problem, but it was still a big problem.
Yeah, and that's interesting. I mean, typically alcoholics are self-loathing, and that is self-harm. That was a
Right.
concept that
Totally.
really hit me. And when
Yeah.
there's so many things along the way that help, but
Mhm.
one was the concept of future self and how much
Yeah.
I was screwing my future self for 20 minutes of a good buzzer to get through a 20-minute or even hour-long uncomfortable session, meeting, interaction, maybe even 2 hours, maybe even that night long, but then screwing the next day and the next day and the next day. There's a guy just did an Instagram on how he had one or two drinks. I need to go find it. But whatever it was, it screwed him up for 3 days. And you might say, well, how can that be? Although they do, it does stay in your system. But it was more that he then slept in that next morning and then he skipped the gym and then he was depressed. It does add up. Oh, and talk about a circle back that I would have forgotten.
Yep.
I told you how my social media addiction I've gotten over, and a big distinction that I'm the only one, I claim this a lot, that I've heard really distinguish. There's addiction, and then what we have is an addiction disorder. To me, an addiction is an ingrained habit that you can overcome with willpower. I always say it's like eating chocolate after dinner. I had a huge addiction of that. My mind was triggered. You finish dinner, you're going to eat your chocolate. And I know there's a ton of people like that. Well, guess what I did? I just brushed and flossed. Remember I told you I was OCD with that? Well, fun fact, I love to floss, but I will not refloss. So once I floss my teeth, I am done eating for the night.
Good for you. Yeah.
Yeah. With almost no exception. I think I've only reflossed once or twice in my life.
Yeah.
But unlike my mother, who will get up and eat in the middle of the night, not to any excess, but she'll have a little snack. I'm like, then you have to rebrush and floss. I'm sure she doesn't floss, and lucky if she, lucky if she even brushes, and that's not an insult to her hygiene. But so yes, I gambled. I lost 10 grand gambling after I paid my student loans. Don't ever do it, people. But then I just quit cold turkey without any help. But then there are those that have a gambling disorder. They get such a dopamine rush off of it, they can't quit. I didn't get a rush at all. Although it's kind of nice when the scores came up on the tickler, because this was even pre-internet, dare I admit. But my only addiction was to winning my money back. And as soon as I realized that was never going to happen, and fun fact, nobody wins at gambling, so don't even start it. So same thing, social media, I definitely an addiction.
House always wins at gambling. That's
exactly.
Yeah. I mean, that's who wins at gambling.
Literally, statistically, they always, So anyway, so I used to be a Facebook addict, if you will, especially my drinking days. It's fun every night before, I got to get to it before midnight. My memory, Facebook shows you your memories from years before that day. I always say it's annoying because some nights I fall asleep on the couch, and once midnight hits, you can't even backdate your phone or anything. Facebook just knows. The Wordle doesn't know. The Wordle you can play with your phone. You can trick it. Yeah, and I do that almost nightly. I do the next days. My buddies do it in the morning, but I do it before bed. You just change your calendar. You just go in and it takes 2 seconds. They refuse to even try it. I'm like, it's so much more relaxing before bed than in the morning when you need to be places. But anyway, maybe this is ADD thinking right here. Wait till you see the podcast with Carla and I, Carla/Ivy, my partner. We are all over the map. It's pretty funny. And that was by design. We didn't have a agenda, sort of like you and I. Not that we discussed one. Anyway, I have no interest in social media now. Because I know it's such a time suck.
Yeah, of
will
course.
only use it, TM, I have it in the bathroom, and that's it.
Sure.
So it's great. But I do think that's a really important distinction that we could talk more about. So in that book, Your Brain is Not Broken, and 2 types of thinking. Convergent just thinks of one solution. Divergent, many creative ideas and many solutions. And I think this is why, for me, I found my gift, if I will, in Superpower, talking about sobriety and ADHD, because I am making so many interrelations between the two and relating it to everything. Like, oh my God, I self-medicated all those years to be productive. And it was because the dopamine hit used to work for me. I used to, after 5 o'clock, when everyone go home from my sales office, I'd be there till 10 o'clock at night, drinking wine, sending emails and prospecting. And I was a machine. But that's when alcohol worked for me. So it's amazing that that divergent thinking.
Yeah, Cappy, that makes me think about the functional alcoholic, and from a clinical perspective, when we look at disorders and diagnosing, really the qualifiers are around what is the impact on functioning. And so are you able to go to work? Are you able to maintain, order? Can you still produce the same level of work and responsibilities, or are those impacted? But then there's the functional alcoholics that can still do everything and still do it drunk, or still do it at some level of inebriated, which is its own, slippery slope. It's its own dynamic, because then there isn't the same potential impact I was functional for years as an alcoholic. I think it did hurt a lot of people in the process of being like, oh, well, I'm still functioning. I'm not dysfunctional yet. I haven't hit that rock bottom yet. But I do know along the way, I did hurt a lot of people being a functional alcoholic. I don't know. It's an interesting thing around disorder, because I do think about how ADHD is labeled a disorder. There's a perspective on our thinking is disordered, but I really appreciate the divergence. The idea of my brain's not broken, your brain's not broken. And divergent thinking is a gift when it is wielded well. And honestly, sobriety is such a gift. I think about how much better life is than when I was drinking. I think it'll be 8 years for me, and it was actually Labor Day weekend. So it'll be 9 years this year. Yeah.
Awesome.
And yeah, people told me that in the meeting. So life gets better. Life gets better. Think about your future self. And man, I got to say, like, I'm loving the life that I'm living being sober. I would not have this life that I have now if I wasn't sober. And I can say that. And I know that my wife now is like, I can't imagine you drinking. And I'm like, good, please don't imagine it. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't a good thing. You would not have liked me when I was drinking.
Yeah, that's interesting. The spouses that have never met the drinking, their partner drinking, only knew them sober.
Yeah. She can't even understand what it's like. And I try to tell her it was bad. Trust me, it wasn't good. But yeah, not having an experience of it.
Yeah. I had a girlfriend named Alex that she, to your point about the high functioning, she said, why do you keep talking about this drinking problem and how you need to quit and all that? This was 15 years ago. I don't know. 12 years or so ago. And I said, you don't see it, but it's so much worse than you see. We can hide it. And I said, also, I just know I'm not fulfilling my potential. I'd love to say I was haunted by my potential. And now sobriety, I can fulfill my potential, but I've discovered it's now the ADHD that's holding me back. So that's why I've got to overcome this thing. So we got to hit a couple of things. We do have to get to Ali's program, because I know if I was listening, I'd want to know the deal. But I have to circle back. It was so funny. 10, 15 minutes ago. We were talking about, I was Googling the pronunciation. It does appear to be, and I really didn't know for sure, but it appears to be Gabor Mate was a pronunciation. So I wasn't fully listening. And I guess the last name can be Mate or Maite. They don't know which one, but it does say it's Gabor.
Gabor. Yeah, I've been pronouncing it wrong all these years. I apologize.
So you know what's hysterical? I almost cut you off after I said it, because I said, wait a minute, it's way more likely it's the way you said it, and I almost said, oh my God.
Yeah.
And I could hear people yelling. It's a big thing of doing these. I can hear haters in my head being like, no, you fool.
Sure.
But,
yeah.
so
it's said this way. Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. I did miss, even though I said I was able to listen, I missed the beginning of what you had said. And then you're talking about powerlessness and sent you around acceptance. You didn't use that term, I don't think, but I thought you were talking about ADHD still, because that's largely what we've been talking about, which is amazing.
Yep.
I mean, we haven't even hit on alcoholism, and I'm dying. We could do hours and hours on that. But I thought you were talking about ADD, because there's so many similarities between the two. And what I'm struggling with, the segue to Ali's program, is it taught me, it's basically 8 weeks. I think, is it 8 weeks of coaching calls one-on-one?
I think it was 8. Yeah, 8 weeks.
Yeah. So 8 weeks of one-on-one coaching calls, but every week has a bunch of videos. You're probably an hour's worth, maybe less, 30 to 60 minutes of videos to watch that come with worksheets and all that. So through all that, it showed me, and that guy from Attitude magazine needs to know how much work can be done to overcome this. Just like doing the work to overcome alcoholism, there's work for this. So now I know the work needs to be done. I've been in the program at least 6 months though. And all you got is 8 weeks of coaching calls. They'll give you a few more if you need to, I believe. And then you're in the community for life, and they have weekly group coaching calls. You can go on and ask questions. It's amazing. You identify with everybody's questions, including one woman was like, I need something to record all my thoughts. I don't always have my phone on me. So,
Yeah.
how funny is that? And the guy actually recommended a device that I bought called a Plaud, Plaud.
Oh,
And
yeah.
same thing like the Aquanotes. I bought that thing a month ago. I haven't had any thoughts
I haven't
since.
used it. Sure. Sure.
It's more that in the end, my phone's always right here. I just continue to use it wears like a pin and you can just hit it and it'll record. I just never think of it. I mainly want it when I go running, but it's not practical. It's a little too heavy. They have a watch version. You can attach it to a watch, but I don't like to wear a watch. So anyway, I now know the work involved, but it's just like when I was trying to get sober. I would not accept that I can't do it alone.
Yeah.
Guess why? Because I have some good, productive days doing it alone, doing it without systems in place.
Right.
But by and large, I can't. So it's just like those successful, rare days we could moderate our drinking that we continue to think we could do it alone. So I'm still struggling with the acceptance. My other accountability partner, Sherry, I literally just left her a voice memo last night. We exchanged tons of them. And I said, I don't know about you, I still struggle to accept that I have this disorder. I mean, it's so bizarre that I have no working memory, that it takes me till 3 o'clock, if not 5 o'clock or later, to sit down at my desk to do work. I can't believe it. It was just like I couldn't accept that this liquid was destroying my life. I can't accept this. So I think Ali has a great program. I highly recommend it. And a friend just asked me about it. I said, dude, don't bother unless you're going to commit to doing the work. Because I can tell you what the work is.
Right. Sure.
Although you need to hear it firsthand to really make it effective. Just like, I learned transcendental meditation. All it is chanting a mantra.
Right. Yeah.
When I paid $500 for that at a discount, I cried poverty. They won 1,000, but I would never try to train someone or teach someone that, because by going through the program, you get invested in it. So
yeah. Oh,
anyway,
big
I'd
time.
recommend it, but I refuse to do the work. And as Sherry says, and we'll end it with you saying what you do for the work, but Sherry has a great quote, because both of us are horrible. We don't stick to our morning and nightly routines or calendaring or stop to doing those things. We won't take the time.
Yeah.
She said it's like walking because you won't take the time to stop for gas. It's like, it's brilliant.
Yeah.
So sadly, that's where I'm still at. And that's why I can't launch my community until I buy I did buy a 60 by 40 whiteboard.
Nice.
That I bought that 2 weeks ago and finally got it hung. But I'm still not using it. But that's number one. I really do think that's going to be life-changing. So how is that working for you? And how long have you been in it? And are you doing the work?
Yeah. Similar. I've probably been in it about 6 months. I want to say it's probably been about 6 months. I did coaching with Jay, and Jay was spectacular. Ali does the videos, and he's just incredible. I mean, the systems that he's created, it's like unlike anything else I've seen, honestly. And just the way that he's been able to build this community and this network and this coaching program to implement these systems, it just made complete sense. I've been working on productivity models not built for the ADHD brain that fall apart on day 1 or day 2 because my brain doesn't want it, because it doesn't work. It isn't engaging. A lot of people say this works and that works for them. And I haven't found that to be the case, because ADHD specific tools and systems and coaching just makes sense because it understands the baseline that we're working with, the deficits that we have, but also the superpower, the great capacity that we have, but also the great deficits too. And so I've really enjoyed working with Ali, and my coaching with Jay was great. It helped me understand masking in another way. So this ties into something that you were talking about earlier, both with ADHD, but also with alcohol, is telling ourselves we're better than what we are. Like we're deluding ourselves and masking that we're presenting better across the board, whether it's with drinking or whether it's with ADHD. And learning to let go of the mask and be authentic is, it's such a gift to be like in alignment with myself and other people. Dropping the mask has been really rewarding. And I think It's the right time. It's the right tool. Like you said, like really investing in it. It's a big investment. And what a skill set to provide. It's a powerful program. So yeah, I can't recommend it enough.
Do you do the work? Do you do calendaring? Do you do a morning, nightly routine?
Yeah, I've implemented some of those systems, but not to the degree that I want to do more. So I did the coaching hard and then dropped off, and then we had chaos. We had a water leak over the holiday in the house and demolition and reconstruction. And so getting back into those systems, there's a real commitment to redoing it. One of the things that I do have really implemented is Opal. Do you know Opal?
I failed out of Opal class. So yeah, quickly for those, it's an app blocker, people. And that's all they talk about. Ali talks about it so much. And on the coaching calls, there was a guy who turned out to be one of our people, sober. And he was like, dude, you need, because I told him I had it and I deleted it. And he's like, you need to reinstall it. I keep thinking I can do it alone.
It's been a game changer for me, man. I think I hit a 90-day streak on it, maybe more. It blocks apps and softwares on your phone or on your computer. And I've been able to set schedules for my work hours during the week, and it'll block all social media. It'll block all news media, any app that it deems, and I can distinguish, yes, please block this app. It is distracting to me. It'll block what they call non-essential or distracting apps. And that has been wildly helpful for me. It's actually a paid app, and it's probably, aside from, storage, paying for cloud storage every month, it's $9 a month. I don't get paid by them to say this. It's probably some of the best in terms of a single app. It's made my productivity. I can't access those things. You can take a break for 5 to 15 minutes if you want to check in on something and get back, and it'll kick you back out. But Opal has been really good in terms of kind of like letting my brain say, okay, that's just not available to me. I can't do that. And I think there's a lot of parallels between blocking software and sobriety. Happy, I'd love to do this again, man. I know, we had a good chat, we had a spectacular chat today. I'd love to do this again. This is so much fun. There's so much more notes that we haven't gotten to, things that we haven't circled back on. So I'd be happy to do this again. This is such a pleasure.
Absolutely. And listen, I got to break it to you. Opal has a free version, and I'm wondering, you maybe do that because I had an app where I didn't realize it right off the bat. It looked like I needed to pay, or it looked like it was only 30 days or whatever. And I started paying for it. And then I found out there doesn't. So I think, just so people know, the free version was doing everything I needed. I just got sick of taking the breaks because yes, it'll let you take a break whenever, but I got sick of that. And you can also exclude apps. Like I had to exclude Instagram because I use it for work. It was more time consuming, even though I'm not addicted to it, but still, anytime I go on for work, I'm going to look at posts and then it would take time. But I keep thinking I can do it alone. I just said the other day, I need to reinstall it. You know what kills me the most is messages, actually, because I have a Mac. The greatest thing, I thought it was a blessing. Now it's a curse. You can text from your Mac using the full keyboard.
Sure.
And it makes me send so many more texts and longer texts. And also I can see the text. I at least did shut off notifications, but I still have the app. I still have it open all the time. I need to either block it or just take it off there, but I struggle with it.
Yeah, I've learned disabling any connectivity. If I can have the dumbest devices and not have smart things connected, talking to each other, I can be more effective. But yeah, that sounds like instant messenger, like AOL when we had it 20, 25 years ago. Yeah, it's always available on your computer. So yeah, you're going to always be on.
Yeah, I wish I could work offline, but I use AI and Google all the time. I've said I wish it could be all I could use, but that is what Opal will do for me if I let it, but I won't. But I need to. And listen, you got to go, but I got to tell you this. So Strattera is what you take. It is the non-stimulant version that essentially so those with alcoholic brains can take.
Yeah.
But so what it does is, you mentioned, it doesn't really give you the dopamine. And so I confirmed that. I knew.
Yep.
So it works as a neuroepinephrine reuptake inhibitor. And that's what I was talking to you about, how our brains will actually have these transporters that will reuptake the dopamine. And that's why alcoholics have to drink more and more. So norepinephrine is the other transmitter that improves focus, motivation, and attention. But our brains, I think particularly ADHD brains, your body will reuptake those. It'll suck off, get rid of those. So that Strattera inhibits that. So it should have worked for me to some extent, but I didn't feel like it was doing anything. I was on 40 milligrams. I went to 80 and seen nothing. But I don't know. Maybe it is something to try again. How many milligrams? What are you on? Are you on?
I'm on 40. I did step up to 80. I got like a level of like, oh, this doesn't really work. I got kind of nauseous. I had some bad negative side effects from taking too much. For me, 80 milligrams was too much. And so I stepped back down to 40, and it's a sweet spot that I'm happy with it. Yeah.
You might be proving the theory, and the stats do say it only works for, 50, 60% of people.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that's stat, but it's something like,
Yeah.
it didn't make me feel any side effects. So
yeah.
I think it just didn't hit me at all. I really do.
Yep.
And,
Yeah.
fun fact to talk later, Ali coach, I'm the biggest cold shower advocate in the world next to Wim Hof, but Ali's big on that. That's one thing that sold me on him. He calls it his confidence shower, which I love. I always said it gives you a 250% dopamine kick, a cold shower finish, even like 1 minute.
Yeah.
And it was Ali that also reminded me, it gives a 530% neuroepinephrine kick as well.
Wow.
So, yeah, fun fact.
Amazing.
All right, buddy. We definitely have to talk again, but thank
Let's
you
do this
so
again.
much, Jake.
Yeah, I'd be happy to do this again.
All right. I'll put your info in the notes and all that. But your website is your name again, right? Say it.
Yeah, Jake Lohwater, lcsw.com.
All right. Thanks.
Thanks, Cappy.
Yeah. All right. You're welcome. Thank you. Okay. Thanks for listening or watching. And reminder, I've got some great videos on YouTube under Sober Cappy about ADHD and the effects of medications have had on me and the struggles I've had overcoming it, as well as a great coaching program I was in. Speaking of which, if you've ever thought about, it seems 80% of people hate their jobs, especially those struggling with drinking. So there's a lot of jobs in the sobriety field. If you're ever interested in type of certification I'm going through, please contact me. Or the program is Carolina is her name. Euphoric AF is the program. And I also know a great ADHD program as well. And as always, please like, share, subscribe, or just submit a quick rating. It's so easy to do on Spotify or Apple. Just go to the main page, scroll down, and give it a quick rating. And if you ever want to be a hero, you could give it a review on Apple. All right. Peace out. Stronger, sober.